What's up, everybody, and welcome to Lunar, over the fan-made podcast about fans discussing Insomnia games and creators of Ratchet, Spyro, and Resistance. That was really quick, because this is part 2 of an in-depth series where we are looking at images from the movie and the game, and we're currently playing catch-up with images from the movie, and we are now onto the section where we are talking about stuff that was uploaded to the website. Because the Ratchet and Clank website was recently updated with a whole bunch of cool new footage. I am Kebabs, and joining me is Division 10.
Hello! We've already done our introductions last episode, so we're going to be really quick and start!
Yes, in case you're watching this on a playlist or in a series or something else. So this first image that we are starting off with is Ratchet looking very cool in his Ranger armor. He's on a mission, and he's really confident about it.
Yeah, and you can even see his ears perking up. So we mentioned in the first episode of the series that his ears are finally mobile again.
Yeah.
They haven't been this expressive since the very first game, and that's just a really nice thing to see.
Yeah. His ears, when moving, would be a lot of secondary animation, which, as an animator, is always fun to include, but when you're on a time frame, it is a pain in the butt. So, this second image is very cool and very exciting. This is Alaris. She's a gamer, and look at the game that she is playing.
It's Up Your Arsenal!
Yes, it is!
And if you can read, they've made Solanan as an actual language.
Yes, so they've adjusted the HUD so that instead of being in Up Your Arsenal's microgrammar, it is actually in the local script that is used in the movieverse.
Yeah, so you can actually see it says Veldin in the top left corner.
First, there are too many characters for that. 2, the map is not of Veldin. Can you take a guess as to where the map is?
1 second. Can you zoom in a bit?
Yep.
It says Planet Veldin.
No, Veldin, 1 extra letter. It's not Veldin. Veltron, maybe? But it is not Veltron, because that is not a planet that has appeared. It is a planet from the games, from the classic PS2 series. Can you try and figure out what it is?
It's not the F sector, is it?
No, it's not.
I am stumped. What is that map?
It is the robot graveyard from Catacomb 4 in Deadlocked.
It's Deadlocked, huh?
Yeah, so this is the initial opening valley of the first mission. This is the area of the second mission with that loop, the bridge that you cross, and her HUD pinpoints her as over here. You go up here to the Landstalker at the top of the map, and then you go along to... Well, actually, I don't know why I did that, because the audience can't see my mouse cursor, but anyway. And the big circle on the top right corner is the final arena where you have the arena shootout with the zombies.
Right, the timed shootout where you just have to survive.
Exactly. So, yeah, it is a map of Catacomb 4. Now, the screen in the middle, this isn't actually from the final release of Up Your Arsenal, and you can tell because this mini-map element on the bottom right corner of Alaris' screen is actually blue, like in Going Commando.
What's interesting is, again, all of the fonts, you can see they're using the shotgun in the top left.
Yeah, the shock blaster, V1.
The shock blaster, and that the bomb, I'm trying to remember what the bomb is from Up Your Arsenal, the starter bomb.
The nitro launcher.
The nitro launcher is up next on the quick select.
Yeah.
She's got 11 HP, and... Oh, God, is that 2007 bolts in their font?
I would say 5007.
Yeah, I'm still getting the hang of the numbers for the Space Creole.
We'll have someone on Ratchet Galaxy will probably translate it and have it to a font before the movie comes out. The other 2 pieces of information that show that this is not the final release of Up Your Arsenal being used in footage here is the Gadgetron ammo box is red here rather than the final blue. Can you see the Gadgetron crate?
Yeah, it's red and then the G's are pink.
It's, well, pinkish.
Pinkish gray.
It's because of the color bleeding in the screenshot. But also, to the left of the Gadgetron ammo box, the nanotech orb is yellow. So these are all the wrong colors. And I know that the beta version of Up Your Arsenal did in fact have the Gadgetron ammo crates be in red. And it used the HUD originally for Up Your Arsenal originally was just a repurposed Going Commando HUD before they changed the actual elements to be the classic orange and yellow in the final release. And the final screen over here to the right is of her apparent weapon loadout. The shock blaster is correct, but if you look, all of the weapons at the bottom aren't even in Up Your Arsenal.
No, they're from other games. So let's see. We have
on the top row, left to right, you have the Rhino. I believe that is actually the shock blaster that is highlighted. But after that
is the shock blaster.
Yeah. After that, you have the tornado launcher and the negotiator. And on the bottom row, left to right, I believe that is the Thunder Smack, the Parositor, the Omega.
The first one looks actually like the Buzzblades. Bottom row left looks like the Buzzblades to me.
No, it's not.
It's not.
You have a little tendril thing up the top and a tendril thing on the bottom. That is the tornado. That is the Thunder Smack. Remember, these are all from the sides.
This is oh right, they are. I'm looking. My eyes are closed and I'm looking down on the Buzzblades.
Okay.
But you're right. Those are all profiles. Yeah.
I've zoomed in for you. So the full list is the Rhino 4 from Tools of Destruction, the Shock Cannon, the Tornado Launcher, the Negotiator, the Thunder Smack, the Parositor, the Omega Frost Cannon, and the Alpha Disruptor. So only one of those are actually from Up Your Arsenal.
We have seen Nefarious utilizing something that looked suspiciously like the Alpha Disruptor, though, in other screenshots.
It is the Alpha Disruptor. We'll, I'm not sure if we'll see that in these shots, but it is the Alpha Disruptor. Now, the final piece of cool information here is look at the controller that Alaris is holding.
It's a PS4 controller.
Yes, it's a holographic DualShock 4. And there's another screenshot from... I'm not sure if I have this included in the gallery later for the game part, but there's another piece of evidence that this is a DualShock 4 because the trigger looks exactly the same as well. It's that thin, curved wedge shape. Oh, also, I'm noticing now, you can actually see Alaris' sort of head tendrils at the back here.
Yeah, she has antenna.
No, that's part of her
her crown thing, but...
Yeah, I'm talking about these purple downward pointing spike things that appear to be either part of her head or sort of a head dress thing that she's wearing. Now, this is an image of Ratchet sort of bouncing off the bottom of that ring in the Nefarious Ring arena. And you'll see that his boots are glowing a bit on the tips.
Yeah, those might be his probably not Magnum boots. They've probably.
Yes.
Either charge boots or gravity boots. Thank you. I was brain farting.
You can't see this because this is a still image, but they are in fact gravity boots because they light up as he is running along and then jumping off of the bottom of the circular ring.
Yeah, and we saw that in some of the very initial screenshots where Nefarious is using the Spiral of Death to attack Ratchet.
Yeah. Now this next image is a close-up of Victor Von Ion's eyes and eyebrows.
The cool thing there is, again, the rusting and chipped paint effects all around, as well as the two scars he's got over his left eye.
Yeah. So he would appear to be a very, very old robot. I wonder who built him. Nefarious, age 2?
I don't know, old is the right word. He could just be well used. Or weathered, as the case may be.
Now this next image is a very interesting one because it looks like Zed is running away in fear, waving his arms about. And if you look at this sort of Final Fantasy VII style train here, you can see the head of Chairman Drek poking out. I wonder what that's for.
Spoilers!
Hey everyone, this is Kebabs here, and I'm including this little edited in snippet to point out a detail that I only noticed while I was putting the footage together. If you look to the left of Zed and pay attention to the ship that Drek is actually climbing into, they look identical to the ship that Clank actually escapes the factory from, that he was born in. And this would probably be the same location where Victor Von Ion points up the negotiator and shoots, or at least attempts to shoot, Clank's ship out of the sky. And this environment and the sky match that general location. So, if this is indeed the same location, and the renders of the pictures that we saw in the previous episode of the Avengers style Ranger roundup and the interrogation of Zed, where Korra is hanging him upside down by her hand and by his legs, then that would mean that one of the Rangers' missions would in fact be to the factory where Clank was created from and born. So that is a very interesting story development, and I thought it was worth noting. And now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now, here's that picture I was talking about in part 1. It's Drek with a magnet launcher, an upgraded magnet launcher.
Yeah, it can shoot 3 at once.
Yeah, although it doesn't do that in the movie. I'm pretty sure they picked the upgraded version because it has more colors on it and therefore is more visually interesting to look at.
But that's interesting that if this is first and then we see Ratchet in one of the magnets later, why is nefarious? Why does Drek look like he's worried as he's scooting away?
Yeah, that is the big question for people who have not read the novel. I know exactly why he looks like that, but I'm not going to tell anybody. Now, one of the interesting details about the magnet launcher is look at the crossbar as Drek is holding it with his right hand, screen left hand for those looking at the picture. It's bent down.
Yeah, so it's basically like it's been moved from where it would be in the game.
Yeah, this is probably so that the animators can actually have Drek reach it.
Yeah, because I don't think he's shorter necessarily, but his arms are a lot shorter.
Yeah, especially compared to those who are actually supposed to be wielding the weapon, which is pretty much Ratchet. Now this next image is of Victor Von Ion, but with all the fire, he kind of looks more like the Terminator.
Well, all things considered, that might just be a little nod to his prior roles.
Maybe, yeah. Well, that was Arnold Schwarzenegger, remember?
Oh, that was Schwarzenegger. This is Stallone.
Yeah, now if you look at the screen left-hand blade, you can actually, because the fire is darkening the blades, you can see a little bit more as to the visual construction of the blades. It's sort of comprised of lightning bolt-like arcs of plasma that focus into a curved blade.
Yeah, it's not solid. It's made of lots of little individual strands.
Yeah, which means it will be especially painful, because all those strands are tearing into your flesh. Now this next image is of Nefarious holding a combustor, about to shoot an annoyed Blarg who's, I don't know, maybe he's shooting the Blarg because the Blarg has got too much swag.
Yeah, you can see him in the back, and the Blarg is sort of just legs open, sort of gaping.
Yeah, like, oh?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
No! Blarg are basically red shirts. Calling it now.
Yeah. Well, they're red skins.
Yeah. But Nefarious does not look happy.
No, he doesn't. He sort of looks very dismissive. Kind of reminds me of the last time he shot a pistol at a mook. In a cracking time.
Yeah.
Now this is a picture of Ratchet and Korra running away in a hallway. It's sort of a passing by shot, but this was the clearest picture that I could get of the two of them running past. Clank's head seems especially big here.
Yeah, I think it's because when Clank folds up if you notice in the games, when Clank is folded up, his head is very tiny, but then when he's unfolded and standing next to Ratchet, he's a lot larger.
Yeah. One of the other things that the movie-verse Clank doesn't do that the game version of Clank, both in the old timeline and the movie-verse do, is that if you look under his chest, you can see this black pair of blocks acting like a pelvis that the feet are attached to, right? Now, in the games, that block actually recesses up into his body, so his feet are flush up on the bottom of his body. but that doesn't happen in the movie for some reason.
Yeah, and in the same vein, his head sort of does shrink when he jumps onto Ratchet's back, and I think from what I've seen of the limited shots I've seen of Clank on Ratchet's back in game is that he just sort of turtles in, but he doesn't shrink down when he's on Ratchet.
No, Tools of Destruction was the first Ratchet game to visually depict what happens. In the PS2 games as well, Clank's head sort of recesses into his body, and it becomes more like a ball in a ball joint, right? Mm-hmm. And then in Tools of Destruction, they actually depicted sort of Clank's sort of head popping out as he does one of his poses, and the top of his body in backpack form is completely different from when he is in sort of expanded body robot form.
Yeah, freestanding mode. Whereas in the movie, what we're seeing is what would naturally happen when you've got an aluminum shell that can't sort of squash. His head just sort of turtles. His neck pops into his body, but his head just sort of rests loosely on top and leans into Ratchet's own head.
Yeah. That might be because it would be easier to animate, say, if Clank needs to do a momentary line of dialogue. It would be easier to do that. To have Clank sort of pop his head around Ratchet's shoulder or whatever.
Not only that, but in a movie about space cats, it's slightly more realistic given that he's got an aluminum body for him to not actually shrink in size when he's on Ratchet's back for visual, like, his head is the same size whether he's on or off of Ratchet or turtled or fully extended.
Now, this next picture just looks like the back of one of the exclusive pre-order red robots that ambushed the Rangers on Metropolis in the Hall of Heroes. Nothing too special, but look at the combustor he's holding. It's red.
It is red.
Yeah. I'm struggling to figure out a reason why the combustor might be red. It might be because this is a model of a combustor that is exclusive to this particular warpot used by Trek, and so the paint scheme is just to match up the colors. In particular because, I can't remember from the trailer, do the various, you know that aerial shot showing the two forces shooting at each other?
Yes.
Are the laser bolts different colors?
I do not remember.
Okay.
I'm almost positive they're all the same color.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're the same color as well. Okay, well then this would be more for visual consistency. Sort of like the enemy's version of the combustor.
Maybe Drek got a special deal on all of those paint jobs.
Maybe. Or he got a special deal by not painting the combustors, and this is what they look like unpainted. Now, this is a shot that we've seen before, but sort of advanced more into the shot than we've seen before. And beforehand we saw the negotiator that Victor is holding, firing one rocket. But it didn't actually advance this far enough to show the negotiator firing both rockets.
Yeah, and that you can actually see the rockets coming out of the gun as he fires it.
Which we did see, but we just didn't see both. And funnily enough, you might think this is more accurate to the games, but it isn't, because the normal negotiator was never able to fire two rockets at the same time.
No, it was either 1 or 3.
Yeah, 3 was the upgraded adjudicator. But that doesn't mean that Victor is not awesome enough to fire the trigger twice that quickly, because he's a robot, and he's got 2 shots left. Which is a detail from the games, with both the Warmonger and the Negotiator/Adjudicator. If you were out of ammo, there wouldn't be any rockets shown in the barrels.
Nope, they'd be empty. Same with the Predator launcher, too.
Yeah. So these are his last 2 shots. Now, this is a shot that is taken from Ratchet sort of look at him fail using all of these weapons sort of reel. And the reason why I've included this particular shot is because you get a really good look at sort of the back of Cora's head and what her hairstyle looks like back there.
It's a weird bun.
It's not even a bun, it's just sort of a layer of long hair that then sort of gives way to reveal a buzz cut upon which her headband is placed. Yeah, that is the main reason why I included this. And of course, more cork glove stitching.
And also the neoprene hexagonal pattern as well.
Yeah, that hexagonal pattern is new in the sense that it is visible via dark lines. It was in the games, but it was more sort of, you can only see this through specular highlights sort of thing. So the fact that we can see it all the time is brand new. Now this particular image is of a control panel with the deplanetizer again displayed on the monitors. I think Drake loves that thing a little bit too much. I can't really see what is on the buttons, but then a couple of moments later, ha!
Nefarious!
Yeah, and the monitor then changes to a big red display thing. So, I don't know, maybe
Panic.
it's like, eject the turbo lasers! I mean, fire the turbo lasers!
Or just panic! Sound
Yeah.
the alarms!
Hit the panic button. Ultimate Groovatron alert! Now, one of the details that I've noticed here is that Nefarious's nose is actually quite flat on the front.
Yeah, it's sort of like a hook.
Yeah, like you were molding the nose on a clay model, and then you dropped it, and it landed nose first on the floor, and then you just went with it. This next picture shows the red exclusive Ranger ambush killing robots dropping into the Hall of Heroes Plaza. And this image doesn't really have anything explicitly interesting in it, except for the fact that it reveals that the warbots get onto the scene by skydiving in, as opposed to walking through the front gate and saying, "Hey, you! We'll fire at you! Stay still, please!"
Yeah, I don't really have that much to add other than they're coming in. They've obviously coming in by dropship, and we've seen the dropship of death from the Velden. Dropship of death or dropship of doom? Dropship of death.
I don't know, something beginning with D.
Yeah.
Not the one you are thinking of. Gotta remind an audience member.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. I have now scared every audience member named Steve.
But we have seen a dropship of death / doom appear in the Velden gameplay, and it does appear in Metropolis. You'll be seeing it, I think, in the gallery. But there's also a big warship as well. Now this next image is of Captain Quark and Nefarious looking very awkward and completely off balance. What's happening in this shot that you can't see here because it's a still image is the fact that the floor and the room are banking down to where Nefarious is. So Quark is actually beginning to slide down the floor.
My guess is it's on the deplanetizer, which, as we know, is a spaceship. But it could be a building that's moving too. I mean, this is space. If you've played StarCraft, you've seen those buildings that can move around. So it wouldn't put it past. It's
Sorry.
No. Skype timing. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was a physical building that was actually lifting up and moving somewhere.
Yeah. I'm guessing that this is the same spot as one of the previous ones that we looked at when Nefarious pops up and mashes on the button, because if you look at the control pads and the orange piping, besides Nefarious in this shot, it is identical. So this is likely the same scene.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was this is an alert, and then maybe if it's a building or a ship or wherever they are, literally lifts off from the ground and takes off and is basically shaking Quark off like you would shake like a bull would try to buck somebody off.
Yeah, and if you look at what Nefarious is holding, it is very clearly an Alpha Disruptor.
It is an Alpha Disruptor.
Yeah, because it's green.
Very green.
Yeah. This also means that, I believe I mentioned this before when we looked into the original proper trailer for the movie, but this is one of those instances where a character is depicted firing something, and then you cut to another character running away from something that is landing at them, in this case Ratchet swing-shotting away, and the context makes it look like Nefarious is firing at Ratchet, when in fact those are two completely different scenes.
Yeah, I mean, trailers do that all the time to obfuscate what's actually going on in the scene.
Yeah, it's a way to include sort of dramatic moments that could be in the movie without spoiling the direct context of what's in the movie. Now this is a picture of Ratchet trying out yet more weapons It's not just the what was the one that he used in the original trailer? It was a combustor, wasn't it?
Yeah, he also
And then
used...
the fusion grenade.
Yep.
Correct. He uses a couple more, as you can see. In this one, he is really failing to use the warmonger. Well, actually, the peacemaker, because there's more than 4 rockets on it.
Yeah, I mean, well, look at the size of the gun in relation to the size of the Lombax. It is literally as tall as he is.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is that if you look at the next frame, you can see the rockets are actually tracking Ratchet like they are Predator launcher missiles.
That's interesting.
Yeah, whereas normally Warmonger's a sort of fire, it goes straight forward and then it blows up either because it expired or it hit something.
So do you think that's extended to the game where the Warmonger has tracking capability? As a potential upgrade?
Well, it would be the Peacemaker that would
Peacemaker.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, it would be a very handy feature if it were able to do that, because that's always been one of the problems with the rocket launchers, even when they upgrade, is the tracking. Because, well, yeah, the Devastator was the last rocket launcher to really be able to track well. So having an upgrade like that would be very nice. Now, as for why the rockets are tracking Ratchet, well, think about the context. This is an isolated training room. Ratchet would be the only warm thing in that room, so of course they're going to go after him.
Well, yeah, if they track, that's the only thing that they could track. Everybody else is behind glass on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. So Ratchet was apparently stupid enough to forget to flick off the heat-seeking capabilities. Oh, also, I just noticed this right now. The hovering platform that Ratchet was on is the same platform that is used for some of the artwork that we'll be seeing for the website later on. Now, this picture is of Brax at the recruitment stage on Velden. This is just a really good look at his full armor look.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to just the quote-unquote standard armor they all have, but each of them has some unique things to their armor. In Brax's case, it's much thicker pads, and also my personal guess is that those are his actual spikes peeking through his own shoulder pads, and that they're just ringed around, but it's hard to tell.
Yeah. You can also see in the background that there is Cora, who's looking, pretty pleased. She's, they're showing off and the crowd loves them, so of course she'd be pretty happy about it. Now, this next image people got very interested about because it is Clank with red eyes, and I believe everyone was like, oh, is that Clank? But it's not. You can't tell because of, again, this isn't a moving image, but what's happening here is that the red eyes are actually representing Clank's initial evil programming, as shown in the robot behind him who has a single red eye. But then Clank blinks, rubs his eyes, opens his eyelids, and his optic sensors are green. So that's his sort of not evil programming, immediately replacing his old Warbot programming.
Or just his basic Warbot programming being overridden by a Zoni? The world may never know.
Maybe. It's
one of nature's mysteries.
It would be really interesting if they did bring Orvis into this. I think that's too many characters, to be honest, but as a visual nod for people who have been following Ratchet and Clank for years, I'd be very pleased if Orvis still had a part in his origin story.
Well, I'm actually going to right now jump into something that is actually supposed to be part of episode 14. But, okay, this is part of the website update, subject B. Okay, there have been the first hints as to a crack in time influencing the origin story. Clank's bio description starts off describing him as born out of a Zoni-aided Warbot factory malfunction.
Now, granted, that is on the site, so it may not be official because sometimes the people who do PR aren't the people who made the thing. But that's good news to hear.
Going into my own spiel, this is one of the lines in the sand that I drew when I was writing up the unofficial timeline, because a lot of the time things like manuals and stuff like and quote-unquote official websites actually have a lot of their detailing written by people who aren't actually on the creative team. And this results in things like, say, hold on a second, I'm just gonna grab this. I shall edit this in the editing room, so stay tuned, audience. Okay, I'm back. I have here with me the European manual for Ratchet and Clank 1 from back when I got the original game in about 2003. Now, let me read the bio. Ratchet. Our hero is a street-smart mechanic from a backward world called Veldin. His best friends would describe him as a practical joker and a bit of a dreamer. Now, of course, this bio describes him as a practical joker, and Ratchet has never really been one to pull pranks, really.
Yeah, I mean, people write that in fan fiction, but I've never seen it in anything official that has happened.
Yeah, and his best friends would describe him as a practical joker. And despite the fact that Ratchet leaves Veldin and comes back to Veldin multiple times, we have never seen these manual-written best friends.
Not only that, but he very much looks like a loner. Like, that's kind of... He's a bit of a jerk, too.
Yeah, mostly due to events that happen, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's justified, and it's character development to boot, but he's a jerk in the original game.
Yeah, when he is pushed into that area, is what I'm saying. But yeah, he doesn't have... We've never seen these best friends. The closest, of course, would be Clank and Talwyn, and to a certain extent, Captain Quark. And on the description for the OmniWrench 8000, it says, some say he even sleeps with it. We have never seen this. It has never been mentioned ever again. So for that reason, I'm a bit cautious as to the fact that the bio mentions Zoni aided. But at the same time, a lot of the information on the website is pretty accurate to what is in the novel and what we know of the game in the movie. So for now, I'm treating it as sort of fairly canon, but I will be writing my own unofficial movieverse timeline, but I will not be including this detail, because unless it is depicted in the movie, the game, or the novel, I will not be including it. So manuals and websites are out. Okay, that's my spiel done.
What about Word of God? AKA interviews with like Ted Price or somebody where they mention it, but it never actually shows up in the final cut.
Yeah, I've used that for the origins of the OmniWrench Millennium 12, where on an episode of the Full Moon Show years and years and years ago, I remember listening to this on the bus on my MP3 player at the time. I can even remember where on the bus I was and where in Wellington I was when I heard this. The OmniWrench Millennium 12 was actually a modification built by Cronk and Zephyr before the events of Quest for Booty. And that is held up in the description because it is described as an illegal modification to his wrench, not a brand new product that is different from the OmniWrench 8000. So that is the only piece of Word of God that I've taken into account.
Cool, so why don't we go back to our regularly scheduled programming?
Back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now this is a really cool shot of Ratchet sort of firing the swing shot from his glove. It, again, nothing really interesting or new about this image. I mean, we know that it's the tornado launcher by now. It's just a really cool pose. But if you look, actually, I'm noticing if you zoom in really, really close onto the glove, you can actually see the top of the
actual swing shot mechanism peeking through, which leads credence to my theory. Yeah, leads credence to my theory that it's on. He's wearing it, but the armor itself is holographic, like it is in A Crack in Time.
Yeah.
So he's wearing his normal clothes with the swing shot underneath. It's just the armor covers it.
Yeah, and I think that is actually held up in the games because from what I can tell from the Kerwan gameplay and sort of post-Kerwan gameplay, the armor doesn't actually provide any actual protection. It is merely a skin for looks. The only bit that I would hope isn't holographic is the space helmet.
Yeah.
Now, this picture is of Captain Quark using the jetpack that I mentioned earlier. Again, nothing too revealing about this scene, well, picture. It's just a really nice look. You get a really nice definition of the shape of Quark's chest and his legs, and sadly, his buttocks as well.
Thanks for that wonderful detail.
Yeah. This next image is of him doing a mocking pose. It kind of looks like he's trying to take a dump in midair, actually.
Crouching monkey style. Crouching kitten style, actually.
Yeah, crouching kitten. And this is a similar image. Again, you get a disturbing look at his buttocks, but as well, you get a really good look at the jetpack that he's wearing and how it's sort of, it's almost suction cupped, glued onto his back here to make sure that it stays on. Now, this picture is the one that I was talking about before. Ratchet's sort of coming along with the swing shot, and he's being fired at by the Spiral of Death from, I can't remember who it is, but one lands on the inside of the ring, and Ratchet actually uses this as a spring pad to launch himself forward as he's swing shotting around.
Yeah, and you can see the bottom of his boots light up, so it's definitely magnet or more likely gravity boots.
They don't here, actually. That's sort of more the spiral
that
blades
is
blowing plus the sparks. He doesn't use his gravity boot functionality here.
No, you're right. I'm noticing that. It's just ambient lighting that's bouncing off.
Yeah. Now, this is a picture of Clank in an area, and oh, I wonder whose arm that is.
I think that's Victor's. Yeah, I was about to say Victor. Remember, there's a bit of a lag between us.
That's okay. It's fine on my end.
So yeah, there is a large metal claw behind him, and it looks like that opening scene that we've seen before of Clank running away from Victor.
I don't think so. The color palette is completely different. It's blue, whereas his escape is more in a red location.
So you think this is later, or it could be in the same escape scene through a different area of the facility?
Maybe. Here's my theory. This is actually when Victor is encountering Clank on the Phoenix, which we've seen in gameplay form. This is Victor actually coming through the hatch that we normally see in Full Frontal Assault, Aphelion entering and exiting the ship out of.
Oh, right, that hatch underneath the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if the Phoenix is going to be a hub world again. That would be really nice.
From the looks of the gameplay footage, it doesn't appear to be a hub world in the same way that the original Phoenix was, in the sense that you return to it over and over again. Or, like in Full Frontal Assault, where you always return from it after completing a level. It doesn't seem to fulfill that purpose. But, at the same time, the gameplay footage that we've seen so far doesn't go nearly far along enough in the story to reveal the Starship Phoenix as it is in the movie storyline. So, it could be, but I doubt it.
Like an Act 3 hub, or better yet, just a level later on.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about both Phoenixes, the fact that you're not so much asked to do anything too strenuous in the levels, but you are more than welcome to explore and take in, with the original Phoenix, the scale, or in the second Phoenix, the detail of that environment.
Oh yeah, the second Phoenix is much smaller, but there's a lot of little cool things that you can do by exploring around.
Yeah, like you can find boxes and boxes of non-sellable Body by Quark copies, or you can find Groovatron boxes. I love the engines at the back of the Starship Phoenix too. They look like space-age V8 engines.
They do.
Stuff like that. And like the internal server room hallways, they actually have RGB composite cable plugs in them. It's filled with like VCRs on the walls.
I also like the internal messaging. Like the
messaging system.
Well, the PA system in Up Your Arsenal, but then also in Full Frontal Assault, just the conversations that people have with each other. Or if you get far enough, what happens to the ship itself, which I'm not going to spoil, even though it's
one of my favorite
7-year-old
lines
game.
is one of my favorite lines in Up Your Arsenal is, Captain Quark is now the leader of the newly assembled Q-Force. He's got, almost the entire galaxy's resources to him. And then he goes, Ranger, yes, sir. Call my mother and tell her I finally got myself a real job. Aye, aye, sir.
I also like Helga's meal, Come Hungry, where she's talking about her meatloaf.
Oh, yeah. What's funny about Helga in that sort of make a conversation situation is that she never says yes to anything. All of her responses are no.
Yeah. There's a lot of automated randomized responses, and people can say yes, no, maybe later. Every single one of Helga's is some variation of no.
Yeah. Now, this particular picture is of the scene where Brax is fighting against the swarm of Mr. Zircons. And here, he is using the Porositor.
He is, and it's firing a long, straight line of lava.
Well, fire, which is accurate to the games, and I don't like it.
But isn't that what real... I was about to say, isn't that what real-life flamethrowers do?
I know, but I just really like the way that the Porositor in Ratchet and Clank 1 and the Pyroblaster in Tools of Destruction worked, where it's a very wispy, dynamic fire tail that you're using. It just looks much prettier.
Even though it's not realistic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of funny that Ratchet and Clank is one of the few games that actually gets flamethrowers right.
Yeah. A couple of frames later, we also see Brax using an Alpha Disruptor on a Mr. Zircon.
Which means that there's more than one?
Yeah, I mean, considering that Alaris is also using... Now, it is a digital version, but the fact that the Alpha Disruptor is a weapon option in the game that she is playing, that likely means that the Alpha Disruptor is not, in fact, a weapon created by Dr. Nefarious.
No, but does that mean that it's a Lombax-made weapon? Question for the ages.
Yeah, I mean, people can invent things from many, many years ago and still be used later on because they're just really good at what they do, even though the creators are not around anymore.
This is true. It's just interesting if there really is something Lombax created in this universe.
Yeah. If the Alpha Disruptor is Lombax created, it is evidently not important enough in this story to be worth mentioning. Which I appreciate, actually. Not every story detail needs to be called out as a reference to the old games.
No, they do not.
Now, this particular picture is from... You remember the TV spots?
Yes, the short ones?
Yeah, which we will also be covering in an in-depth. This is the scene from when Drek is doing the clap, because that is earlier in the shot. You see him clapping.
Yeah, and this is all of the... You can see a bunch of Blarg, and then behind him is a big picture of Ratchet on probably what's a holovision.
Yeah, so Ratchet, whose name you can see at the top of the vertical panel, is obviously a subject of importance. Now, one of the cool details is on the vertical panel, look at the artwork of Ratchet that is used at the very top.
Zoom in, please.
Okay. Now, that pose should feel familiar.
That's from the poster. The original movie poster.
Yeah, that was from one of the earliest movie posters. Another thing that is, well, it's a bit of a non-mention, but you see the Blarg with the camera?
Yes.
When I first saw this, I thought that was a modified vacuum, until I looked at it closer and I'm like, wait, no, it's not.
I wonder if the vacuum is actually going to make an appearance in this. You're keeping your mouth shut.
No, I'm trying to figure out a reason. I don't know, maybe...
Comedic value. Maybe they find it on the ship or something.
Maybe there's a scene that we haven't seen yet that is Ratchet cleaning his bedroom.
Shall we?
Now this picture is of Clank holding a Thunder Smack.
Which is larger than he is, and adorable.
Well, yes. Now what's the... this is probably also part of the fight with Victor Von Ion. And the specific location I have deduced to be, you know in Full Frontal Assault where after getting enough medals you can upgrade to a new rank and get better armor?
Yep. That's the armor area.
Yeah, exactly. In the full frontal assault Phoenix. That has obviously been recreated for the movie Phoenix. And that is probably where the Rangers get new equipment on board the ship, I would imagine. And that is where Clank has pulled the Thunder Snack from. Yeah. Now this is of the Ranger ambush on Metropolis in the Hall of Heroes. And this is Cora sort of attaching two sticky bombs to a poor, unfortunate warbot. And this frame is basically to show what those sticky bombs look like. Now the next image is probably the best looking image of the set.
A very, very nice close-up of Cora.
Yeah. And again, you can see the spots on her face and that sort of thing. The color of her eyes, the detail on her lips. She even has pores on her skin. Can you see it?
I can't, but I'll trust you on that one.
Now,
oh wow, now I can see the texture. Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, so that's a cool detail. Now this is a frame later on in the same sequence where the sticky bomb explodes.
Kaboom!
Yeah. Unfortunately, to me, this explosion isn't actually all that impressive. And I'll tell you why. It's not because the explosion doesn't look dynamic enough or it's not realistic enough. It's actually got to do with the movement of the explosion. Now, this might be because I've watched enough Mythbusters to know what an actual explosion looks like, but a lot of the time in CG, explosions are basically just fluid smoke fireball things that don't feel like they have the force, that whiplash effect that an explosion has, because an explosion is basically a very, very fast release of energy that is escaping from a contained space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most CG explosions, even those in trailers made by the ever illustrious Blur studio, don't look realistic because they don't have that very quickly escaping effect that looks like it could propel a shot of glass right through your eye and through your entire house.
No, it's just sort of a slow burn almost.
Yeah, so it looks like an explosion, it sounds like an explosion, but it doesn't feel like an explosion. Now this image is of, the next couple of images are from a GIF series. Basically on the website you can submit a bunch of, you can share a bunch of GIFs onto Facebook to share with people, and they're generally mostly hilarious. This one is of Ratchet using the negotiator in the training section, which is interesting. Ratchet uses two different types of rocket launchers, but only one of them is in the game. Do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. That's why I'm not saying anything.
Okay. Now this image is of Ratchet using the rocket sled. Again, nothing interesting, just, this is a moment that we now know will be in the movie. Ratchet using the rocket sled. I would imagine, given the lighting, that he is actually using the rocket sled to blast off to the Ranger recruitment area, which would actually be a contradiction to the game, unless because from what we can tell in the game, Ratchet heads to the recruitment area on foot.
Well, I mean, again, the game is basically using it as a tutorial, whereas the movie you need to get from place A to place B, so why not do it a little bit quicker?
Yeah, the only way that I can think that this game movie plot hole would not contradict is that the screenshot that we've seen a lot of Ratchet sort of standing in front of the garage looking all pleased up into the sky.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that maybe that area, you don't walk to the training arena, but Grimroth basically asks Ratchet to complete his chores before he goes, or something like that. So you do a lot of work around the garage, and then when you complete it, you see a scene of Ratchet blasting off to the recruitment stage.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense if they don't want to have to build the entire area between the garage and the recruitment stage. But given that we've also seen Veldin gameplay at night, and he very clearly does walk that area because he's fighting off Blarg, I'm leaning on the side of I think he's going to walk that area, and it's going to teach you some jumping and movement mechanics.
I disagree. I heavily disagree, because the route that we see on the nighttime PSX Veldin gameplay section is
a different route.
Yeah, because Ratchet is explicitly coming back from the crash site.
Which isn't the same area, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking that is just a side path off of the garage area, and we don't actually see Ratchet jet off to the recruitment stage.
Yeah, I mean, that's a way that it could not contradict, is he does his little chores around the area, he learns about how to, use his wrench, pick up objects, throw something, maybe use a basic weapon.
You mean the player?
Yeah, you the player, not Ratchet. He'd obviously know this stuff already. But you're learning it via him doing his chores.
Yeah, exactly. That would be really fun. I like those, well, obviously if it doesn't take as long as something like Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh,
but
God.
I like those small moments where you're not fighting evil, you're just doing a game version of chores using gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that as how the player learns how to maneuver in the world is chores.
Yeah. Now this next picture seems to be in the same sort of Drek confrontation planets sided hallway scene, and you can see Quark warping into combustors. There is in fact a specific term that is used for the novel, and we can actually see this in action in the game. This is the effect where if you press square to grab the wrench or select an item from the quick select, then it will initially appear glowing blue. That is the weapon warping into Ratchet's hands, and that is a function that is explicitly stated to be part of the Ranger's repertoire.
Oh, so Ratchet doesn't have it initially. Or he does, it's just...
He does, it's just not explained why he has it already. It's a bit similar to how, 2 images ago, Ratchet is shown struggling to handle these weapons like the combustor and the fusion grenade. But those happen to be the 2 weapons that he started out with and has been using very proficiently in the game.
Which may mean that in the game we don't see this exchange at all because he's already been using these for a while.
Correct. In the recent reveal, we do actually go through this particular sequence as part of the Metropolis gameplay after Ratchet is recruited, and it deliberately skips over this Ratchet failing at using weapons sequence.
Yeah, because we already know he doesn't fail at using weapons.
Yeah, so it seems likely that while the movie and the game and the novel tell relatively the same story, it is adjusted slightly for the fact that, one is a game where you are using weapons all the time, so it doesn't make sense that Ratchet would fail at them. Now, Insomniac have actually already thought of this particular problem, and that is the explicit reason why they have chosen to have Quark recount the story of the movie, and that is to explain plot holes like this.
Yeah, that Quark doesn't remember or Quark doesn't know something. He's not omnipotent.
Yeah, I mean, from his perspective, he only saw Ratchet at the... he only was explicitly aware of Ratchet when he came in saying, I want to join the Rangers in that dark studio that we've seen before. What he was doing on Veldon before that, he has no idea. So he could be making up the second wave of Blargs showing up, or just plain the fact that Ratchet was using his own weapons. And that is not a huge contradiction, but it is a way out for Insomniac as far as plot holes like this are concerned. Now, this next image is just plain scary.
Oh God, what happened?
He is laughing incredibly maniacally.
Yeah, that's just no. That is a lot of no. That is all of the no.
Yeah. This is another picture of Korra, and the reason why I picked out this image is actually because of the fact that I don't know if it's just the grade or the orange Veldon lighting, but it really shows what her eye color is. Sort of this it's purple basically.
Oh no, she's an albino.
Wow. How sad. Moving on. Another picture of Korra, this time all badass and like, I'm bursting out of the back of a truck firing pistols. Now,
she's the epitome of action hero. And
Yeah,
I'm very
is.
appreciative of that.
Yeah, Brax is very bone crushing, but Cora is definitely the I like to shoot up everything type. And well, it's only interesting to me. I cannot actually place the context of this scene. It appears to be on Veldin, but we know that she doesn't actually enter the Veldin stage on a truck. So, yeah, I'm struggling to think of the exact context here.
I mean, the truck is glowing orange on its own, has its own internal lighting.
No,
So it could be another planet. No,
it's
that's
not.
the lighting coming out.
Yeah, that's the lighting coming into the truck. Because if you look to the right of Cora, it's completely black. And this next image is of Clank sort of exposing that little circular thing that is inside his chest, which is something that he has never done in the game. So this is a movie first.
He did in one instance, I can actually mention. In Tools of Destruction, when Ratchet asks him, when he asks, what are stones and do I have them? He opens up his chest and looks inside as well.
He also does that when he's putting away the display panel when Captain Quark is talking about the Drophet attack on the Planetary Defense Center. But that wasn't what I was referring to. I'm talking about how he's moving the slats of his stomach vent and explicitly showing that circular thing inside.
So I wonder if he realizes he's his only soul?
No. I know the full context of this scene, and all I can say is no. It has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Maybe that's where he just stores things in general.
I don't know. He is not shown to be doing that so far in any of the game media. But
well, then we'll leave it up to our viewers to try to think of some reasons why he might be doing that.
Yeah, I know why. Now this last shot is of Brax in a very dark facility, and oh no, who's that quickly brushing past the camera?
Is that the plumber?
No.
I see blue. I can't really tell what beyond that.
Well, Mr. Zircon hates movie-exclusive races and characters. They must be destroyed. It's Mr. Zircon. So yeah, that about... Oh wait, nope. It doesn't wrap it up because we have one more image to look at, and this is one that I've compiled myself out of all the various PNGs that are available on the movie website right now.
Yeah, and you notice you can see that holographic pad that Ratchet did his training on.
Yeah, it's the Rangers are on it, as is Chairman Drek on the scooter in the center there.
I love his little scoot.
Yeah, that should. I wonder if someone will put that onto their Segway.
What, make a Drek Segway?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say much about my next costume, but it is actually going to involve a similar item.
Okay. Well, let's go around. The top left image is Ratchet and Clank standing on a rock that is very similar to the nighttime Veldin sort of magazine-style cover that we've seen in the past.
It looks to me like it is just that image with the back cropped out.
Yeah, pretty much. And the bottom sort of painted to make it look like they're standing on an asteroid. The Captain Quark one, just to the right of that, is basically a render of Captain Quark with an asteroid painted in front of his legs. Now, to the right of him, you can see Drek on a scooter underneath the glowing pad and a green planet behind him.
Would Orxon, maybe?
It looks like Orxon. It also could look like Sarathos. Unfortunately, again, because I've read the novel, I, again, know what that planet is. Spoilers, etc. It's Veldin.
The next one...
It's Veldin, but Drek painted it green.
It's Nivalis.
And of course, to the right of that, you can see the planetizer from the top, which is a view that we never really get to see all that often.
It looks like Nefarious's head.
Yeah, in fact, it looks very reminiscent of the VX-99 Hoverdrome that Nefarious sicks onto Axiom City, and Ratchet and Azimuth take care of it at the end of the level.
It also looks kind of vaguely like his own space station in A Crack in Time.
Yeah, it does. So it's a visual way of saying that Nefarious designed the space station, even though he doesn't actually have that green dome in the movie itself, because he's not a robot. He's a squishy. Underneath that, you can see Drek, and to the left of you can see Drek again, and to the left of that, you can see his hybrid world, which is
Patchwork
much more...
Planet.
Patchwork Planet. I like that actually. It looks much more rocky this time around, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
a big thing in the first game was him stealing things like water and trees from places.
Yeah. In the original game, I'm not sure about the movie verse. Even after reading the novel, it could be a detail that they add in or leave out. It's up in the air, even to me. Is the fact that in the games, he not only steals like chunks of a planet, he steals specific resources. So Eudora is logged. Altanus doesn't have a piece ripped out of it. Drek just steals the power generators from Gorda City.
Yeah, so he's not just blowing up every planet to steal a piece. Some planets he's just taking a specific thing and leaving.
Yeah, and even Novalis, he does intend to steal a chunk of it, and he allegedly does, even though we can visit Novalis any time. But the reason why he's attacking Tobart Crater is not because he wants to land, but he wants the waterworks on that land too. And underneath Drek and the hybrid planet, we see the Galactic Rangerified Starship Phoenix 2.
It's huge. It's a giant bus, and you can see it's got 3 levels of windshields, which means that there's multiple decks on this ship.
Yeah, most likely it's either multiple decks on the ship or a very inconvenient windshield. But this is the first time that we've seen it from the front. The engines are also different. They're glowing blue, which is different, and just the paint scheme in general is much more similar to the Galactic Ranger armor style than it is the Q-Force green and blue from Full Frontal Assault. And to the right of the Phoenix, to the left of the Phoenix 2 Ranger thing, you can see... Why do I always
Victor Von Iron.
Yes, I'm always blanking out on his name, even though I can remember like a second later. I always blank on the name the first time I see it. Yeah, you can see Victor Von Ion, and this is explicitly a frame that we have seen from, again, the original full trailer, which is the bit where he drops the blog who was texting in the middle of Drek's speech. That's the frame that they took for this particular render.
And then we have that shot that we mentioned before where we find out everybody except for Ratchet is a lefty.
Yeah. Now, it seems silly, but what's notable about this particular shot, about that particular render, is the fact that you can actually see their legs. In the original frame that we looked at, you couldn't actually see the bottoms of their legs or their feet. That wasn't rendered, but they took the time to actually render it for this particular promo render.
Which means either they pan out in the movie, or they actually took the wireframes that someone had animated and stretched out the whole scene just to get that shot.
Yeah, having worked in the industry and also just knowing in general how Maya works, it wouldn't have been too difficult to add the bottom section. It could also be that the shot zooms in as well, so that the camera pushes in onto the characters very quickly, and they just took the beginning frame and rendered that out.
Yeah.
And that is the last image. That wraps it up for the website coverage of the in-depth, sort of part 2. I also realized I forgot a part. It was the in-depth for the TV spots. But we will be doing that at a later date. That will be part 3, just to remain consistent, because we learn more as we look through these images, and it would be nice to be consistent rather than shoving it in at the beginning, because that was technically first.
All right, so we'll either have a link right embedded in the video or in the bottom of the video, so follow along with us for the next part.
Yeah, I'll put, as I said last time, I put it up in the top right corner as an annotation. I did that for my Teen Titans videos. Or,
cool.
If you are especially clever, it'll be in a playlist, and we'll move over to the next one automatically. So we'll see you then.